I'm John Quigley, President and CEO of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry. In these challenging economic times, it's imperative that our residents and businesses band together to not only shop Elmhurst, but buy Elmhurst whenever possible. We have great stores in our city center, Spring Road, Butterfield Road, York and Villette Streets, St. Charles and Route 83, North Avenue and Lake Street, along North York and even Grand Avenue. I ask for your help. Let's keep our tax dollars in Elmhurst.
Hit your horses and...
Nothing like a loud, unusual noise to get your attention, which is the purpose of it. I thank Jack Island for the Silverado Grill, whatever you would call this. Last year we had cymbals from the Elmhurst College Jazz Band. Any of you with suggestions for next year, let me know. I'm Ken Bartels, your MC this morning, Senior Vice President and Director of the Community Bank of Elmhurst, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the state of our city. And to begin the most challenging part of the morning, if you would all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here in the George F. Hammersmith Senior Community Room. This room is the site for many important civic events in the life of our town, and we welcome you again this morning. This year, 2013, is the Community Bank's 20th anniversary, so it's an historic moment from the bank's perspective as well. Ahead of time, I want to thank all of our program participants, Fresh Start Cafe, the Elmhurst Our Kind of Town television crew, as well as the staffs of the Elmhurst Chamber and Community Bank. This event has a reputation as being an event that you do not want to miss. That said, none of you did. So we might as well get forward and see what's ahead of us. It is my pleasure to introduce to you initially a member of the Elmhurst Civic Hall of Fame and the chairman of the board of the Community Bank of Elmhurst, William Gooch.
Thank you, Ken. This is the 14th year in a row that we have hosted this, and it seems almost to get better every year. And it's another way that we can give back to the community, saying that the Community Bank of Elmhurst, that name does really mean something. And I think that if you probably haven't had a chance to read it on the wall, but our mission statement is, the mission of the Community Bank of Elmhurst is to provide superior personalized banking service, valuing our customers and community first. That's what we try to do, and I hope we've succeeded so far, and we'll try to continue. A lot of you like to get here early, which is all right. For you, the date next year is January 14th, 2014. So, you know that John Quigley and I have had a little ping pong game going back and forth, and you know, compassion is a word. If you read the newspapers and listen to CNN, compassion and bankers usually don't go together. But here it does, because I have compassion to John. Because we had a thing going between the Cubs and the Cardinals, and he's just never going to win. I'm going to be at the Algram Funeral Home before that happens.
Well, then I win.
It's the only way. But anyway, so we changed this to a golf game. And the loser pays $100 to a charity chosen by the winner. And he found a new way to lose, I guess. So I did. Anyway, John has agreed to take his $100 and split it into two 50s, one for the Elmhurst Walk-In Ministry and 50 for the kids for, what is it?
Kickoff for Kids.
Kickoff for Kids. So we're happy to do that.
Got my checkbook right here, too, though.
Do you have, can you certify that or something?
I don't know. They're community bank checks.
It'll work. All right. Thank you very much. Again, welcome. Ken, back to you.
The Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry has a strong position as the third largest chamber in DuPage County. And it continues to be among the leading chambers known for advocacy of business, collaboration with local government, and the overall promotion of Elmhurst, as it should be. So I'm pleased to introduce you someone who doesn't need any introduction. The whole program is people who don't need introductions, but the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry's President and Chief Executive Officer, John Quigley.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for taking time out of your busy work schedules this week to join us for our annual Mayor's State of Our City address. There are a couple things I need to take care of. First, if you have any kind of beeping, buzzing, vibrating device, please make sure it does it quietly while you're here. The only big alarms that can go off is if you're a policeman carrying a gun or a fireman and you need to get to a fire. You guys have exemptions from those making noise rules, but everybody else, please quiet those if you can. Oh, I hear them going off right now. Thank you. I was at City Hall last night for a DPZ committee, a Development Planning and Zoning Committee of the City Council, and my phone text message buzzed, and it was somebody upstairs at another one of the City Council committee meetings going, can I get a ticket for tomorrow morning? And then a little bit later, it buzzed again, and it was somebody else going, can I get a ticket for tomorrow morning? And then after I got home from City Council, it buzzed again around 10 o'clock, and it was, can I get a ticket for tomorrow morning? So now that you have the date for 2014, I would expect that you will not need to text me at City Council the night before to get a ticket. We have a packed house here today. Always happy to have it. Our members love this. Bill and I have talked about the golf game, and we did the Cubs-Cardinals rivalry, and we thought how better to go against each other and end up donating to a charity of the winner's choice. I'm happy to donate. Of course, Bill would make me write 2 checks instead of 1. So it's going to cost me that additional check. Yeah.
Love it.
Yep. Bill also normally, what he doesn't tell you is it's teams, and Bill gets paired with Rich Reichert, who can hit the ball 1.5 miles, and I usually get somebody not that good. Often the mayor.
Previous mayor, please.
So for the 3 mayoral candidates who are in the room today, this might be your fate next August. You may be on a golf course at Medina with Bill and I am not going to lose $100 because you can't golf. So practice between now and then, should you win the election on April 9. We do have somebody substituting as mayor, acting mayor, interim mayor, however you want to talk about it. We like to refer to him as Scott Lame Duck Levin. We know Scott very well. Scott got involved with the chamber years ago, then got active on the board of directors, and more recently actually chaired the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce. And while as past chair, I got to do all kinds of things to Scott and Scott to me in public, I can tell you he is one of the most outstanding individuals I have had a pleasure to work with during my 13+ years at the Chamber of Commerce. Scott, thank you. Now, since 2000, I have traditionally taken a few minutes to talk about the state of our chamber. And I'm happy to report that 2012 turned out to be a rebound year for our chamber, despite the ongoing economic challenges heading into the presidential election. Whether you liked the outcome of the election or you didn't like the outcome of the election, most pundits predict that the election will have absolutely no impact on where we go, because ultimately it's our Congress, the reps and the senators, who make laws in this country. And so until they get their act straightened out, we may just be dog paddling in the water for another 4 years. With first-year member advocate Kevin O'Keefe handling the recruiting reins, chamber membership increased by 40 members, strengthening our position as DuPage County's third largest chamber. Give Kevin a nice round of applause. This past year, our chamber welcomed 76 businesses and not-for-profits as new members, with another 18 members coming back to us as reactivated members. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, this is the 5th year in a row that I must stress to business people and residents alike the importance of shopping Chamber first and shopping Elmhurst first whenever possible to keep those vital retail sales tax dollars and the jobs associated with those sales tax dollars within our municipality. For the past 16 months, the City of Elmhurst and Chamber have teamed up on a Got It in Elmhurst campaign, a shop local informational campaign unique in its smartphone text message logo design and diverse in its marketing and promotional strategy. The front covers of and inside pages of the Elmhurst Community Directory and the biennial street map, both direct mailed to some 19,200 residences and businesses, trumpeted our Got It message in easy-to-understand ways. Aside from those major publications, our chamber touted Got It via a variety of print and web advertising, event marketing, promotional signage, and product giveaways. But how can we measure the success of Got It? Well, in the campaign's first 6 months, tax revenue in Elmhurst from both retail sales and food and beverage sales far exceeded projections and left the city with an unexpected fiscal year-end surplus. And since then, those sales tax revenues have continued to outperform expectations. Got it? At the DPZ committee last night, Chairman Steve Morley asked me if I was actually giving the Got It campaign all the credit for the increase in sales tax over the last 15, 16 months. And I blatantly said, unless you can tell me another reason, yes. The city and our chamber also work together on a couple events to market commercial and industrial sites to real estate brokers across Chicagoland. Despite being short-staffed most of the year, we did not cut back on anything we did. Not a program, not a product, not a service, and an event. There were a couple events we opted not to stage, but we did them because the timing wasn't right, the venue wasn't available, and they'll be back in 2013. During 2012, we participated in multi-chamber events, such as a Passport to Success, our Business-to-Business Expo, an Economic Outlook Luncheon featuring the senior economists from the Federal Reserve Bank in Chicago, and a 600-person attended luncheon with Chicago Cubs owner Tom Ricketts. By the way, in February, that senior economist from the Federal Reserve Bank will be back speaking to 11 chambers. It started with Elmhurst and Westmont over a decade ago, and he'll be back in February on the 26th of February. Register for that because seats go quickly. Our chamber also worked with the Illinois Chamber of Commerce on business legislative issues in front of the Illinois General Assembly, and we also helped out the United States Chamber of Commerce on various legislative issues. Our chamber continued the use of our website, www.elmhurstchamber.org, and social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn to share the latest news and information about us and our members to a wider audience of tech-savvy consumers. On January 25, our chamber will conduct its 94th annual awards gala, and I invite all of you, in the room at least, to come celebrate with us, and those watching live, because we're streaming live for the first time ever, so there's a larger audience watching us live. But if you're watching on Elmhurst, Our Kind of Town, on a tape delay, it's probably airing after our annual awards gala. Here's who we're going to honor. First, 80-year in business, York Furrier, as the A.J. Tachitaronis Business of the Year for 2012. Computer consultant Tony Scandora of AES Systems Corp. as our Chairman's Award recipient for this year. Here, Tony. I saw him in the room. Tim Gurry of Pampered Chef TLG as our Ambassador of the Year. Stand up, Tim. You're wearing your green jacket. By the way, Bill, Tim spent years in banking, so when you're ready to get out of banking, I see you as a Pampered Chef guy. I really do.
It just doesn't pay to go first.
In addition, we will induct lifelong newspaperman Pete Kruger into our Civic Hall of Fame. I also want to emphasize to chamber members the worth of their renewing their membership with us and advocate to non-members out there the value in supporting our community through the chamber. As always, the chamber needs your full commitment to further our vision to be the voice of business and achieve our mission to foster a business climate that remains progressive, responsive, and innovative. Finally, I want to applaud you and the hundreds of other members whose loyal support and steadfast commitment has earned our chamber the respect of government, our residents, and our peers in the business. Thank you.
The Elmhurst Chamber's Board of Directors requires excellent and dedicated volunteer leadership to maintain the organization's direction and active pace. And this year's chairman is Paul Cook. I would welcome him to the microphone.
Thank you. Well, good morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Let me just fix this from John. Okay. You didn't leave much for me to say about the chamber.
Make something up.
But here we are again at the Community Bank of Elmhurst, one of the cornerstones of our community, for the annual State of Our City address. Thank you, Bill. As the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I applaud the city for its work with the business community to help business succeed in Elmhurst. I'm also here today to support our new mayor in today's address. I consider Scott a friend, and I hope he considers me the same, especially after today. You see, Scott and I came to know each other because our sons played hockey together. Yes, we're a couple of hockey dads. And in the spirit of Sarah Palin, you all know the difference between Scott and a pit bull, right? It's lipstick.
On who?
Sorry to let that out of the bag, Scott. Marisa, I apologize. Okay. But of course I jest. Anyway, a couple months ago, Scott was serving the city as an alderman when Pete DeCiani was elected to move on to serve the county. And the city needed somebody to fill in. These are big shoes to fill. We've had many great men serve as the mayor of Elmhurst. Bear with me a second. Props. Here you go. Let me do it this way.
Yep. You need me to?
Well, here we have our own Pete DeCiani, all right? And then the Honorable Thomas D. Marcucci, along with Tom Borchert, who was the city manager, you all know. Don't they all look handsome and distinguished?
I'm relieved.
Beaming with pride, all smiley and ready to serve the city. And then there's Scott. I have to believe the conversation went something like this. Scott, we need you to be the mayor. And he said, you want me to do what? And I only get 4 months? All kidding aside, we should be honored to have Scott serve as our mayor. He too is a great man. He is intelligent, conscientious, hardworking, and he has a great sense of humor. All great qualities to lead our city and to address us today. So Scott, thank you for what you do for us.
Well, I sure slept well last night. Nothing like thinking about addressing a couple hundred people first thing in the morning to get you a good night's rest. And oh, it's televised too, live without a 30-second delay. What could be even better? So here we are. I'd like to acknowledge some of the people who are joining me on the dais today. Bill Gooch, the community bank, always steps up to the plate to take care of things going on in the community. It's one of the Chamber's top-level sponsors. The Christmas party is one of the main events that Chamber members enjoy. Unfortunately, I missed it for the first time this year. This room is used by community members frequently for events. Bill is always out there in the community. In fact, no gift, Bill. Props.
Spent a lot of time wrapping it.
That's all right. It's not for you. There's one thing I haven't gotten, Bill, in all the years that I've seen you guys, you and Bartels, and
You know about this?
no, it's just, you know, I never got the honorary amigo. If you want to confer it on me this morning, I'm ready.
See, you got to be a little more Spanish.
Let's see. All right. Well, thanks anyway, Bill. I also want to acknowledge John Quigley, my good friend. We've had a number of great occasions together. I think the only thing that would parallel this was serving as a key speaker for John Quigley's roast, which was quite an event. Ken Bartels, who is, and I'll say this, it's not only hard to get up and speak before this many people, but when you're speaking before 4 of the finest public speakers in Elmhurst, and I include Ken Bartels right at the top of the list. So thank you all. Do we have, I don't know if Mayor Marcucci made it this morning. I went to his breakfast, but all right. Oh yeah, he's not up yet, that's all right. Right. Mayor DeCiani did have the decency to call and say that he is on county business and he wanted to wish you all well. Now, there are 3 people out there who are looking at me, and I know it's just killing them because they're running for office next year. So I have to introduce Alderman Steve Morley. Take your bow there. Alderman Mark Mulliner and Alderman Diane Gutenkopf. Now, don't get too nervous, because when I asked Jim Grabowski for business cards, he goes, "Acting mayor?" I go, "Yeah." He printed them up for me. Pretty nice. And on the back it says, "Not valid after May 6, 2013. Like I didn't know that, you know, but okay. But I'm having such a great time. I've asked Don Storino, our city attorney, to draft up. I took a play from the Book of Famous Dictators, and so he's declaring a martial law ordinance. I don't know if it's ready to read today, but we'll get on that. I'm going to be hanging on for a while. I also want to, and I see some council members here. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to recognize a number of people because this is a community event. Alderman Kevin York, Norm Leader, Steve Morley, Chris Healy, my co-alderman from the Fighting Fifth Ward, Alderman Gudenkopf, Alderman Mulliner. Did I miss anyone in the? Danny Polumsky, Bob Dunn in the back. All right. Thank you guys for all coming. And I'm going to, do we have, and I want to acknowledge our city staff because you may or may not know, but as a city manager form of government, we're sort of like the board of directors, and it's our city staff and that does all the work, and we have a very fine city staff. Department heads, I see Chief Ruth in the back. You can raise your hand there. See Bruce DeVille. And I was talking to our fire chief. I had to laugh when I saw him because when Assistant City Manager Kopp wrote it out for me, he put it phonetically, Bassador. I always say Italian, Baciador. He goes, no, it's Bassador. All right, so we got him. Anyone else? I see Marilyn Gaston is there. Well, we're going to say those for a laugh. We got City Manager Jim Grabowski, a year plus on the job. Good job, City Manager. Yeah. Than Werner's here. Mike Hughes. All right, you guys aren't going to just make it easy on me. That's okay. And I want to give a special thanks, Bruce DeVille, we got back there. Special thanks to Assistant City Manager Mike Kopp, who helped me put together some of the information here. It's always great to have someone to blame if your statistics are wrong, so thank you, Mike. And just generally, I'm going to ask these groups to stand. The school board and Superintendent Pruneau, if you just stand for a second, be recognized. We have any Park District board members, or Mr. Howard, anyone else in the back? Jim Rogers, thank you. Our library board, I don't know, I saw our librarian here. There's Mary Beth, thank you. And I don't know if there are any other elected officials. If I called out the name of every VIP in the room, I'd call out everyone's name who got a ticket. Did you get a ticket?
No.
Oh, all right, so that works.
Important enough to get out of that.
I thought so. Well, I look around the room and I want to just tell a little story about an elderly couple that has memory problems, so they go to their doctor, and the doctor says, you know what the problem is, when you get a little older, you have to write things down so you remember. So they go home and they're watching TV in the bedroom. It's not a dirty joke. It's okay. You can keep running that. The wife says, can you go downstairs and get me some strawberry ice cream? And the husband says, I'll go get it. He says, well, you know, you're supposed to write it down. He goes, no, I can remember. Strawberry ice cream. He says, but I'm not done. I want some whipped cream on top of that. He goes, I got it. Whipped cream, strawberry ice cream. So he goes, you going to write it down? No, I've got it. He says, well, one more thing. Don't forget to put, cherry on top of that. All right, I got it. You're not going to write it down? No. Strawberry ice cream, whipped cream, cherry. Husband goes down to the kitchen, comes back 10 minutes later, and he puts a plate of bacon and eggs in front of the wife. And the wife says, see, I told you to write it down. You forgot the toast. So what's the point of that story? Well, I'll tell you. For those of you that know me well, and Jim Grabowski's heard this about 50 times, I have a real hard time remembering names, so if you see me on the street and you get that blank stare, it's not because you're not important. It's a failing of mine that I'm here to admit publicly. And I'm glad to see a lot of friends around the room. I was with the Chamber for many years. It's interesting that when asked what's the most important thing for you as a member of the Chamber, it's not networking or business development, it's community involvement. It's a chance to get involved in the community, and that is how I got involved in working with the city. Paul Cook became a good friend there, John Quigley and Bill Gooch, Ken Bartels, I all met through the Chamber. Well, acting mayor. Some say interim mayor. Acting mayor sounds like what Charlie Sheen is to the presidency, but the official title is acting mayor, and that's how I got here. Some of you know I ran unsuccessfully in 2009. When Pete stepped up to the county board, I was elected by my fellow aldermen, which I greatly appreciate their confidence. If I knew it would have only taken 14 votes to get here, I probably would have skipped that race back in 2009. So Pete, thanks for making my dream come true. As they say, it's a 5-month tenure, Mayor Marcucci, if he was here, I would recognize him as the longest serving mayor, as he will be remembered, and I will be remembered as the shortest serving mayor. So I will ask you, during my tenure, are you better off now than you were 6 weeks ago? So, all right, here we are. It's local government. This is the state of our city address. There's the state of the state address, the state of the union, different levels of government. I think most of you know that I particularly like municipal government. I look at my fellow aldermen. Sometimes we don't agree on things, but I can tell you that the school board, the aldermen, the park district, the people that serve locally are the people you run into in the grocery store, on the soccer fields, at the PTA meetings, and it's truly public service. People put in long hours, they work hard, their hearts are in it, and I dare say there's not one person on the council that doesn't do their homework and doesn't step up, and so not only for electing me, but I want to thank all of you guys for your hard work. And sometimes when you serve in the public, as you know, and I see the press is here, but as lawyers say, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be misquoted and used against you. So sometimes I know that our fellow aldermen have taken heat for things they didn't actually say. Everyone's doing a great job, so I do salute you. Okay, so this is a very good, I'm going to talk a little bit now about why we're really here, not my own personal comments, which is the state of our city. This is a very good program. When Marcucci used to do that, I don't think I missed any of them since I was serving on the chamber. It's a good way to find out what's going on in the community for those of you who don't follow it throughout the year. I'm going to cite a good number of statistics, but my goal is to give you sort of some conclusions and some overall impressions about how things are going. I'll answer any questions I want to answer at the end, but I'll ask you to be kind because, after like 6 weeks on the job, I may not have all the answers. So let me start out. I want to talk about what I think is one of the key areas, and that's finance. Everyone knows we went through a recession. In 2009, when Mayor DeCiani took office, that was the key issue. He asked Kevin Diamond and me to co-chair a finance task force, and I see some of the task force members out there, and we recommended some tough things. There were some cuts, just like what everyone else has to do in business and other governments, hopefully, and we had to raise taxes. It wasn't a popular thing to do, but we did what had to be done as a task force, made the recommendation, and the council passed changes that made us whole again. And by that, I'll point out that right now we're on a fiscal year that begins on May 1st and ends on April 30th. So right now we're in fiscal year 2013, which began last May. This May we'll start a new fiscal year. One of the things we do is every December we calculate property taxes. We don't actually calculate them. We determine the amount we need to raise so that that amount can be levied. And it's always been a little bit out of sync because we decide in December, last December, what amount we need to raise for the fiscal year that's going to begin May 1st, 5 months later. And this year will be different because we're going to have an 8-month fiscal year. The city passed an ordinance so that our fiscal year will end on December 31st, and then next year, when we begin calendar year 2014, that will also be our fiscal year, and we will be able to levy taxes that will more closely parallel what we're actually going to do. I think I'm going to use an analogy that I think Marcucci used to use, and that is that we're going to talk about a couple different accounts. One of them is our general fund account. I like to think of that as our checking account. That's where we pay our operations out of, and that's probably the most important balance to look at. Our revenue policy requires that we keep in reserve between 25 and 33% of the general fund balance, so we have enough funds to operate for 3 or 4 months. When fiscal year 2009 began, 2009-2010, we were at $4.5 million. And our policy for this year is we should be somewhere around, I believe it's $10 or $12 million. So you can see we're far below where we needed to be. By 2011, we increased to $6.4 million. We were at $9 million at the end of 2012, and our budget estimate for ending this fiscal year is we should be close to $11 million. We've contributed $1.8 million to that fund balance just this year. So we will be right in the 28 to 29% range. So that's quite an accomplishment to come back in 3 short years from not having enough on hand to getting back to the point where our reserves are where they're supposed to be. Another important fund is our working cash fund, which I liken to a savings account. That's your rainy day fund for unanticipated expenses. Our fund balance policies were supposed to have $800,000 to $1 million, and in 2009 we had to borrow something like $900,000 or $950,000 to put it into operations. And through some ideas, Alderman York and our Finance Committee, we started paying that back. We will make our 3rd installment of $190,000 plus interest in a couple months. So in 2 years, our working cash fund will also be fully replenished. So that's also in good shape. And the last comment I want to make on the finances, I believe, will be generally, or the general comments, is about our general obligation bonds. I would liken this to the mortgage you take out on your house to finance your long-term projects that aren't going to be paid out of current operations. You may have seen a lot of coverage in the last 2 months in the Tribune where other communities who are not home rule are running up debt that is 5% is the state cap, but they're at 6, 7, I think some are even 8% of their equalized assessed valuation, building wonderful things like golf courses and hotels and things that every community needs. And that's why a lot of them are in trouble. We have our debt limit, we have our own ordinance that we've adopted ourselves that ties us to that 5% cap. We would be able to incur debt of $107 million. And for the last 3 years, we've never gone between 2 and 2.8% of that debt. So we are not only within guidelines, but we're about half of the debt that we could incur. So we have a very fiscally responsible city council. On the revenue side, as Quigley took credit for, our sales taxes have increased each month over the prior month for the last 16th month. So we are seeing increased revenues. That's a key source of revenue for us. I also want to talk about another key source, which is our property tax. When things got tough, we did have to increase taxes substantially on our property owners. Now, I think I hope you've heard this many times, but your total tax bill is made up of many components. The school district probably taxes the majority of it. There's the county. The city is approximately 8 to 10% of that total tax bill. In December of 2010, we increased the taxes by 7% as we were coming through the recession. Last year, the council took a position of trying to put something back, give it back to the taxpayers, and there was a 0% increase in December of 2011. And this year, the city council passed a levy that reduced taxes by 1%. So all things are going quite well on the city's finance side. Now, not directly related to taxes, but some of the aldermen, I think it was Kennedy, Healy, York, and Polumsky, and me. No, I guess I wasn't part of it. But those 4 stepped up to the plate and got us going on the electrical aggregation trail. And I'm guessing that probably 98% of the people in this room who live in Elmhurst are taking advantage of that. Now, again, I mentioned that we're about $8.8 million in property tax electrical aggregation. By getting savings over what ComEd is charging is going to put $4.2 million, almost 50% of the property tax value, back in the taxpayers or the residents' pockets. So that's a very fine program, and that'll save each household about $350. So that's another good program. Not quite as important, but I will say among the 3 top topics for which I have received phone calls is garbage cans. Not sales tax, not building a new parking deck, it's garbage cans. And it shows that people care about their basic services. And I think I'll credit Alderman Peasant, Alderman Bram, who said we ought to take a look at this contract and bid it out. Public Works Committee under Chairman Kennedy did that. And we were able to get basically the same cost, but everyone will be getting a new 65-gallon toter and a 65-gallon recycling container that'll come out in the spring, and it'll make it easier to roll it out. For those of you who have written to the press, give it a chance. I think it'll be a good program, and we'll all look back on it as a positive thing. The next thing I want to talk about is development. Development in our city is something that is generally a positive thing. Our city council knows that it must be controlled and it has to be done right. We've undertaken development. I think we've done it right as a city council. One of the areas that we've looked at this year was the need or desire for any additional TIFs, tax increment financing districts. 3 were studied, was narrowed down to the area of North York. That's an area that really needs some help. When I say North York, I'm talking about basically from the highway up to the north end of the city. Those are properties where whatever the growth rate has been for other properties in increasing in market value, they have lagged. When the recession hit and property values went down, those properties went down even further. They're odd-shaped lots. It's not particularly attractive for developers. A TIF was put in there. I'm not going to go into the dangerous area too much of what TIFs are, but basically we freeze the tax rate for that area. We borrow some money and put it into the area for development, and as the property values increase, that increased value is what we cut off the top and use to repay the money we've borrowed. And we've got a great start there. We've got Mariano's coming in. Mayor DeCiani took the lead on that, and that's a 76,000 square foot store that's going to be opening in April or May of this year. I can tell you I have a friend/client who's a developer, and I mentioned that we had this going in. He said, well, he's putting one in at 294 in Willow Road. And he says, you can't believe all the calls I'm getting for other stores that want to locate close to Mariano's, and I think we have a number of applications of people that are interested. I know that I had a meeting last week, and I think I'm going to have one right after this meeting with City Manager Grabowski to talk about people who are interested in coming to that area. So that's going to be a premier development area, I believe, for Elmhurst. Hahn Street. Hahn Street? How many mayors have been talking about Hahn Street? I propose we rename the street, but that won't solve the problem.
Chamber Way.
Chamber Way. I think we had that in your roast, didn't we, John? Yeah. Commerce Drive. Well, we already, I'm not going to go into the painful history of that, but we were ready to get off the ground with condominium development and retail. Hi, David. David Strasberg, who almost got us off the ground there. And unfortunately, what happened to Morningside happened to a lot of people. The recession hit, and there just wasn't money to be had to complete the development. So it flamed out. We're going live again. Last night, the City Council continued its review so that a request for proposals will go out. We will receive them back in May. By October, we expect to have them evaluated with a goal of breaking ground sometime in the spring of 2014. We already have, the RFP hasn't gone out, and we have 25 developers who've expressed interest in that area. So that will be another key development, not so much for 2012. I guess we take credit for getting it off the ground, but 2013 for making it move to fruition. The Addison Street parking deck, where the old Lothar restaurant was, if you notice a little vacancy, and I mean a large vacancy downtown where everything was torn down, that will be a multi-level parking facility with some retail on the ground floor and office space. Addison LLC, who is the developer, has and I misspoke last night at the council meeting, but they have a public hearing before the Zoning Board of Appeals on January 24th as they seek to increase the height of that project from 4 to 6 floors. But whatever the outcome is of that, we will then enter into a development agreement, and we expect to begin construction of that site this summer, which will add needed parking downtown, more retail, and be a much nicer looking corner. Although not a major development, I get a lot of questions, as maybe Alderman Healy does, because we're in the 5th Ward, what's going in where TCBY is? And that is a orthodontist dentist office that's under construction. I stopped by there on, I think it was New Year's Eve day, and Tom McKenna had me stand there for a half hour to show the facility. I should have worn a coat. It would have been more pleasant, but he's well underway. We had 69 new businesses open in town in 2012 in Elmhurst, which is remarkable. It shows the vitality of our economy here in town. Now, most people care about the restaurants, so we have Hamburger Jones that opened up at York and Villette, and I've been in there as my official function as liquor commissioner. Things are going well. The Kitchen Eatery is opening at St. Charles and Route 83, and they should be open within the next 30 days. Meatheads as the opening at the Old Frescoes location in the plaza across from the fountain. I think that's this spring. And Chick-fil-A, controversy or not, Route 83 in front of Kmart sometime in 2014. So we've got some good things, interesting things on the horizon. Community development. A favorite statistic that I like to look at is what's going on around town in terms of property development. $82 million worth of development in 2012, business and residential. That's a lot of development. In 2012, 95 new homes were permitted. 95 plus 34 townhomes, but they don't count those for some reason. But that compares 95 in 2012 with 57 in 2011 and 46 in 2010. So housing is, and I think if you drive around, you see it. New houses are going up in every neighborhood. So 95 new homes. That compares with Downers Grove 73, Hinsdale 41, Wheaton 29, Glen Ellen 27, Lombard 18, and Oak Brook 10. So we're a place that people want to live. On the public improvement side, we've had, maybe your inconvenience, but you'll see a lot of road work. We did York Street from Palmer Drive to South Street, all new pavement and curbing. In 2013, we'll do the third leg of St. Charles Road from the high school out to Route 83. We have the new ramp that goes York for westbound access to Roosevelt Road. And I used to always complain about that, and Assistant City Manager Kopp told me last night that it is done. So go ahead and use it. Never had that before. That's very important. We're getting a new pedestrian crossing on West Avenue with gates. There's never been sidewalks there before, so that takes care of a safety hazard. We have, and it hasn't gone live yet, but we have where the Prairie Path crosses by Pioneer Park, we have gates, and they're going to reconfigure that for safety reasons. And lastly, this will be the year that we complete pretty much our streetscaping in our central business district, something we started in the 1990s, so a lot of good improvement going on. One area of key concern, I'd say, is our flooding situation in Elmhurst. I think we've eliminated that during my tenure. Didn't we? Yeah, don't, well, that's right. 4 more months, we'll see how it goes. Mayor DeCiani formed some task forces. I think it was flooding, it was stormwater, sanitary, ComEd, and public information. I may have got 3 out of 4 of those pretty well. They've been working hard, and these are people who have a lot of professional expertise that are volunteering their time in our community. They're finalizing their reports that they worked on in 2012, and they should be received shortly by the City Council. 2013 will be the year to say, what are we going to do about it? How much can we spend versus the benefit we're going to get? There'll be some very tough decisions. I will give a little compliment. John O'Halloran from ComEd is here. They've had a note on some statistics here, but I probably can't pull it up. But I will say that they've made a number of improvements and reported to the City Council. So I think we've taken some key steps to helping get towards solving our electricity problems in Elmhurst, and someday we might be able to go on eBay and sell our generators, but not yet. We are going to have a wet weather facility that will store 1 million gallons of water that'll be on the southwest side of Elmhurst, which will relieve some of the flooding. I don't recall when the construction's starting on that, but it should be soon. We lined 25,000 feet of sanitary sewers in 2012. I'm told we televised over 88,000 feet of sanitary sewer lines and completed 97 repairs doing smoke testing. So I don't know if that's going to be on cable TV, so look for that. Our stormwater, our consultant Christopher Burke is reported to the task force. I think did an excellent job there, and our city staff compliments the work that has been done by Mr. Burke, and so 2013 will be a key year for that. I just want to talk a little bit about some of the different departments in the city. If you start getting tired, just give me this little signal, but we'll hang in there for a little while longer. First, the police department. Before I even moved to town, I knew of the reputation of the Elmhurst Police Department. It's one of the most highly regarded police departments in the state of Illinois, and I'm not, no puffery. It's actually true. And when we advertised for a new police chief, we had an amazing amount of qualified, very qualified candidates to choose from. And I am pleased to announce that Chief Mike Ruth was the top of the top, and he's new at the end of 2012. Chief Ruth, you want to stand up so everyone can recognize you? I also wanted to acknowledge the service of Dominic Panico, because I know what it's like to be acting chief, acting mayor. So you're the best, Dom. All right. There is one statistic that I wanted to comment on. It seems that there is a concern with burglaries, because as I go around town and people, besides talk to me about garbage, they say, what's going on with all these burglaries? And I submit to you that it's a problem of not increased burglaries, but increased reporting. The total decrease from 2011 to 2012 was 210 burglaries down to 145, so we actually had a 70% decrease in burglaries. For those of you who live in homes, as most of us do, you're more concerned about residential burglaries. They went down from 66 to 54, so we had a 20% decrease in residential burglaries. So kudos to the press, because you're reporting it more, but to the residents, be assured that there's not a crime wave. In fact, crime is down in virtually every category of crime, with one exception, and that is we had, and see, now I don't use the statistics, I give you the raw numbers because it sounds better. We went from, robbery increased from 6 to 15 robberies, and those additional ones, we had 4 banks and 3 gas stations that were robbed, held up in 2012, when we never had that before. So, stay out of the banks. Nah, it's a community bank, it's okay. Fire department, Chief Bassador is also new, and while we went on a nationwide search to find the best quality police chief, we didn't have to do that in the fire department, because we have a guy who everyone recognized as being top quality, and the city council, the city manager didn't feel there was any need to go any further, and so he was installed as our new fire chief in 2012. Chief, rise. The Insurance Services Office rates our fire department, and we have a rating of 2. Which doesn't sound too good, but 1 is the best and 10 is the worst. So we're number 2. That ranks Elmhurst in the top 1% of fire departments nationwide. So. And I see our museum director out there. I wouldn't forget you. Our museum actually is one of the unique aspects of our city. We're one of few cities that have a department that is a city museum. I think the highlight probably was our Sweet Home Chicago exhibit. We had 6,000 visitors from 60 communities come through there. The exhibit was so successful that it's now on display, if you didn't see it here, at the Harold Washington Library, downtown Chicago. The Museum Association, the Illinois Association of Museums gave 2 awards to our museum this year. One was the Award of Superior Achievement, and then there was an Award of Excellence for 2 different exhibits at our library. So good year for the library, sorry, for the museum. So very good job. And I should add that the Tribune also recognized our 4 museums in town in an article on Museum Day. Next on our city department list is the Elmhurst Public Library. Mary Beth is, take a little bow, Mary Beth, you're relatively new. Mary Beth Camp. Our library received a national ranking for the 3rd straight year, and for the first time, our library earned 4 out of 5 stars, where it had been 3 the previous year. So there are 7,570 public libraries that were rated and only 262 qualified. So we have a superior library, and it's something I know that everyone here has been in and enjoys. In addition, the library, amazingly, leadership for Mary Beth was ranked 15th of the top employers of small business categories in the Chicago Tribune's annual list of the top 100 workplaces. So good things happening at the library. Now, Superintendent Pruneau, I think you've been here long enough that I'm not going to call you out, except to say that we have some good things going on, interesting things going on at the schools. We had 2 schools recognized as Blue Ribbon schools. Bryan Middle School and Lincoln Elementary School were both recognized in 2012 as Blue Ribbon schools. Some other recognition that doesn't really fall anywhere is that despite the fact that we have the Citizens Advocacy Center here in town, they're a group that keeps an eye on what municipalities are doing in terms of transparency in government. The Illinois Policy Institute Local Transparency Project ranked Elmhurst website 16 out of 234 audited public bodies. So we're very high on the list for transparency. And remarkably, we processed approximately 750 Freedom of Information Act requests in 2012. So we're trying to do the right thing and let the people who live in town know what our government is doing. A couple other notes. Elmhurst was ranked 5th among 25 top transit-friendly communities in a study by DePaul University. Our bicycle task force continues to work to make us to get the recognition of a bicycle certified or bicycle-friendly community. So there are a lot of good things going on in government. I will mention also that our Elmhurst Memorial Hospital, the new cancer center, is under construction, scheduled to open in late 2013. Once it opens at the new campus, the old campus will then close down. It'll be totally vacated at that point, and the city continues to work with the hospital to talk about what kinds of things might happen on that property. Well, I don't have much more to say except to say it's truly an honor to speak before you today. I've enjoyed this very much, and I look around the room, and from my years in the chamber, I see a lot of friendly faces, most of whose names I can remember. The state of the city is excellent. I give it an A+. It's a reflection of the good people who live in town, who donate their time and are involved, such as you, and we look forward to an even better year in 2013. Thank you.
You got to do some Q&A.
All right, I have a question. Oh. I got it backwards. Any questions? Softball, anyone?
What did you get off these?
Wow, did he answer everything?
All right.
Oh, question. There we go.
Scott, what about the Park District and our new CEO and our new building and offices?
Where is our new CEO? Where is Jim? Stand up, Jim Rogers. You know, when you try to, and thank you, because when you try to prepare, you're always going to leave someone out. And the Park District moved over onto First Avenue. Are you guys all settled in there? So stop by and take a look there. That's a new headquarters, and that is a major change for 2012. Any other questions? Anyone else want to call me out for anything else? Okay.
It's okay, they get their own tax dollars.
That's right. All right. Okay. I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you again. Give Scott a nice round of applause.
Well, thank you, Acting Mayor Levin, and thank you all for being here this morning. One quick announcement for your future calendar note. The Chamber and the Elmhurst City Center will have a mayoral forum for the 3 candidates on Wednesday, March the 20th, on business-related issues, and it will be open to members of the Chamber and the City Center. Where is that going to be, since you didn't write it down here?
Did you lock in Angelo's yet, Tom?
At a place to be determined. But nonetheless, you have the date. You have the date. So we thank you for being here in the state of our city, and we thank all of you for being the important parts of Elmhurst that you are, in a city that is not only ranked excellent, but is excellent in all quarters. The interpersonal relationships that are evident in this room go a long way towards making a lot of these things happen. So give all of you yourselves a round of applause. And we'll see you next year at the State of Our City.
Visit Elmhurst.org to explore the new City of Elmhurst website. Find out the latest Elmhurst news, pay utility bills and parking tickets, report concerns, and much more. Elmhurst.org is an ideal way to discover what Elmhurst offers your business, your family, your life.
The Churchville Schoolhouse opens the door to the best education in history. Visitors to the Churchville Schoolhouse take a step back in time to watch history unfold in a restored National Register of Historic Places property that dates to the Civil War era. Students of today walk in the footsteps of local farm children from the early days of DuPage County for an authentic living history experience led by a schoolmarm of the early 1900s. A visit to the Churchville Schoolhouse is hands-on, educational, and fun. Participants use slate chalkboards and McGuffey readers for the day's lessons. And children will be asked to follow proper classroom etiquette. Reading, writing, and arithmetic are practiced, and students test their skills during an old-fashioned spelling bee. And of course, no school day is complete without recess featuring games of the early 1900s. The schoolhouse is a popular place for scouts and day camps too. Group visits can also be arranged for service clubs, tour groups, and other adult organizations. The Churchville Schoolhouse Living History Program is operated by the Elmhurst Historical Museum. Call the museum today to book a field trip or find out more information. Call 630-833-1457 or visit our website at churchvilleschoolhouse.org. The Churchville Schoolhouse is waiting to open the doors for your school or community group. Plan a memorable learning experience today for the best education in history.